Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Roberto Corona. I am an Italian anthroposopher and astrologer, and in this video we're going to talk about the ingress of Venus in Leo. And this is going to be a very interesting transit because Venus usually changes sign about once a month, but her stay in Leo will be way much longer since Venus is going to trace a loop in Leo, meaning that she will turn retrograde for a month and a half, and then she's going to turn direct again. And we're going to talk about how the goddess of love and beauty is going to affect us, especially because of her retrograde motion. So first of all, Saturn is going to enter Leo on June 5th, and she's going to stay in the sign until October 9 of this year. And this means that Venus is going to stay here for a third of the year. So 2023 is going to be characterized by this transit, definitely. Now here you can see the orbit of Venus from a geocentric point of view, and it is no coincidence that the goddess of beauty creates such a beautiful shape around the Earth. And this is quite literal. This is literally what Venus is drawing in the sky. And this shape is a sort of cosmic rose, and in fact the rose is the flower of Venus. Now, from a geometrical perspective, this rose is the pentagram, the so-called pentalpha, the five-pointed star, which is a representation of the human etheric body, as well as having powerful apotropic function, that is, to drive away evil. Very interesting. And each petal of the rose, each vertex of the pentagram, is formed by one of Venus's stations. So in about 8.5 years, Venus completes this beautiful figure, which then repeats itself over and over again, but slightly shifted, drawing a beautiful pattern in the cosmos. Now let's take a look at the main stages of Venus retrograde in the sign of Leo, because we can break this down in different moments. So as we said, Venus is going to enter Leo on June 5th, and she is going to enter the so-called shadow zone on June 20th, this area, the shadow zone. So we have Venus reaching 12 degrees and 12 Leo, this point, and entering the shadow area. And what happens here is basically Venus is going to slow down more and more, losing strength. And eventually she's going to reach her first station on July 23rd, right at the end of Leo at 28 degrees 36 minutes Leo here. And then she's going to turn retrograde, going backwards in this red line here until September 4th, when Venus is going to reach the second station at, again, 12 degrees and 12 Leo. Then Venus, she's going to turn direct again, and she will stay in this area, the shadow zone, until October 7, to leave definitely Leo on October 9, 2 days later. Now let's take a look at the meanings of Venus, and in particular, what happens when Venus turns retrograde. Because Venus, of course, represents beauty, represents pleasure and love, right? It is a very important planet because it is basically our value-given faculty, meaning that it represents our judgment. So the ability that we have to attribute, to give value to things, and we do that according to what we like, what we don't like, or what we love and we don't love, right? But being Venus, the planet representing our judgment, what happens when she turns retrograde? So basically, it makes us question the way that we have considered so far people, things, places, relationships, situations. So basically, we are going to second guess those things Because what Venus is going to do is basically undergo a reevaluating process. And since she's going to stay for 4 months in Leo, she's going to raise the bar, so to speak, in terms of our standards. And this is because Venus in Leo represents everything that has great value for us. And this is because Leo is the zodiac sign of gold, right? Of luxury, royalty, splendor. So it is not necessarily something material, but it is definitely something that we hold in high regard. So if it would, for example, if it's something spiritual, that would refer to the spiritual gold in alchemical terms, right? So something that we feel inside of us has great power and great value. And Venus in Leo not only brings our attention to everything that has this great value to us, but when she turns retrograde, she makes us question it. So we are going to second guess it again. We're going through this re-evaluation process, right? So the question that Venus here rises could be something like, is this person, this job, this house, this car, you name it, the situation worthy of my consideration? That's the big question that Venus retrograde in Leo is going to bring us. Now, from the relationship perspective, of course, Venus represents love, right? So here, from this perspective, Venus represents courtly love, amor cortese, as we say in Italian. So courtly love is a very special way of understanding love, because it is a love that puts us to the test, a love that leads us to ask ourselves how much it's worth it. You know what I mean? So it requires us to pass a test, basically, in order to get it. It's not free. Venus in Leo doesn't give herself easily, right? So it is a kind of love that tests our generosity, which requires us to be worthy of it, that tests our nobility, our intentions, right? So with Leo, again, Venus, she's not giving herself easily. She is putting people to the test. And this can be quite literal, because Venus, when she turns retrograde, this can refer to the fact that we literally have people returning, getting back. So as Venus turns retrograde, we have exes or former lovers coming back to us for a specific reason, because the overall meaning of this process is always the same, is re-examining, re-evaluating what matters to us in this relationship. And so these people coming back to us are just a way that the universe is using to make us second guess what we think we love, what we think we like in a person, right? So again, the question would be, is this love worthy of me? Am I worthy of this love? Because it's, you know, it goes also the other way around. So it can be, am I worthy of this love? Usually it's not a question that people ask themselves. However, Venus in retrograde can also push us in that direction. Because Venus in Leo also places great emphasis on our personal worth, and especially because this transit can be challenging. This value, our personal worth, the sense of our personal value, in fact, can be undermined by the shadow aspect of Venus in Leo. And this shadow aspect is pretty easy, pretty straightforward, to be honest, because nothing too complicated, right? Venus in Leo is also on the shadow side, a love to show off, to brag about, right? And it is a relationship, for example, that we value only for the money. And this is a shadow aspect that archetypically undermines the feminine aspect of our personality. So not only women, but the feminine in general. And on the masculine side, instead, this shadow would be, I value this relationship only because they're beautiful, only because of their physical appearance, right? So here, the value that we give ourselves and also we give other people is determined only by money or physical appearance. This is the shadow aspect of this transit that Venus retrograde can help us really process, right? Because the inner intimate element is belittled by this shadow aspect, is that no, your feelings are not important, right? And of course, what Venus wants us to do is to develop this intimacy with another person. So Venus in Leo in general can lead us to value things or people that are generally, envied or desired, but maybe they're not the things that we really want. We're not really interested in those things, even though people in general, they look at those things or those people and they say, oh, wow, I want that. Maybe that's not what we want. You know what I mean? So this is what this transit encourages us to do, to reevaluate things. And if we do that, the right way, we can reconquer this dimension that Venus in Leo brings. And since it is a fire sign, Venus can bring passion, romance, grand romantic gestures, maybe. So this would be the result of this process. Now, even though relationships are one of the most important aspects of Venus, she is also the goddess of beauty and the arts. And this allows us to understand that Venus in Leo is also going to bring, in the artistic field, a change. And in general, the world of creativity, of art, and the value we give to art and beauty with this transit is going to be perceived more as an expression of ourselves and as an expression of our individuality, of our being a human being, right? And here art becomes a way to shine, to show the world who we really are through art, through what we love to create, right? And art becomes one with the personality, with Venus in Leo, the personality of the artist, because the person is now more important than ever. And this is especially important now because we have AI decreasing the value of the products of an artistic process. And this transit is going to say something like, yes, but this person made that, because the question here would be, but if a machine can do something similar to what I can do, what's my value as an artist, right? So Venus in Leo is going to shift the perception of the value of art towards the person, the artist, the personality, the individual. So the artist's value shifts to his being a human being. This is an extra value, and this is quite absurd, right? If you think about it, because it is like a machine can't do that. And of course, me being a person, what I can do is allow other people to enter into relationship with me, with my biography, with who I am, with the artist. And here in this picture, you can see as an example a performance by Marina Abramovic, which is quite famous, and she is dressing red. So it's a perfect match with this Venus in Leo. Now, let's take a look to the chart. The chart is domiciled for Central Europe time, so please ignore the houses. This is the entrance of Venus in Leo, and Venus in Leo brings back the attention immediately to the value of the individual, as we just said, against a process of homologation of the masses, if you will, represented by the opposition with Pluto in Aquarius. So here's Venus, and Venus is making this opposition with Pluto that is going to be there in Aquarius until June 11. And at the same time, we can say that Venus, by making a square with Jupiter, Venus is claiming Jupiter because Jupiter represents here abundance, money, safety, stability, right? And Jupiter is in Taurus. And Taurus is one of Venus's signs. And since Venus rules Jupiter, like Venus is claiming back the stability for her against this voice that is a dark voice that we are going to describe in a minute. But this square is not so bad at all because it is mitigated by the receptions between Venus and Taurus, which are quite good. So it is a dynamic process, a dynamic aspect, but it's not so bad, not at all. So what's the inner process, the overall process that it is going to last for 4 months here? So basically, Venus in Leo is going to ask ourselves to reconnect to our personal sense of worth and dignity, claiming what is rightfully ours, Jupiter, this good thing represented by Jupiter. And I say rightfully ours because Jupiter is ruled by Venus. Venus owns Jupiter because Jupiter is, again, in her sign, overcoming a sort of dark power, a voice that is putting us down, saying, oh, you're just like the others, you're nothing special. And this is what Pluto in Aquarius, Aquarius is the zodiac sign where we are all equal, but it is criticizing this uniqueness that we have, this being a human being, being an individual that is unique, right? This is the process that this Venus is going to bring us for all summer, really. Now, this process is threefold, since Venus is going to make 3, not 1, but 3 squares with Jupiter. And during the last square, as we're going to see, she is also going to make a sextile with Mars in Libra, which is again going to be in one of her sign, being Libra, another Venus-ruled sign, right? And this Mars in Libra is going to bring also this quality of justice to the process. So here we can take a look at the aspects that Venus is going to make in June, July, and August, respectively. So again, Venus is going to make 3 squares with Jupiter. Here you can see 2 of them. So in June, as you can see, we have the first square right after Venus entering Leo. Then on July 23rd, this red line represents Venus turning retrograde, right? So this reevaluation process starts, and we're going to question the value we give to things, maybe also to this good thing that we want, represented by Jupiter, right? Until in late August, we're going to reach the second square, and this is when things are going to get interesting, because this is when we're going to feel like that we can have them, really. So we can allow ourselves to really say, yes, I'm worth it, it's worth it, I am worthy, right? This kind of reevaluating the value that we give ourselves, as well as the value that we give to this thing that we want. In general, it is a good thing because Jupiter is the great benefic, it represents abundance, and in Taurus, it is especially true if we're talking about money, for example. So also, please be aware of the shadow aspect of Venus. And here we have September and October. So in mid-September, we're going to reach the last square with Jupiter. And on top of that, Venus at this point will have already turned direct, and this is going to happen here on September 4th. And this process is going to end with Venus making a long sextile with Mars. Even though it is not going to be a perfect or perfected sextile, it is going to be tight enough to be still there, still active. And as you can see, it's pretty long. And we can interpret this sextile between Venus and Mars as a collab between the planets because, again, Venus being the ruler of Libra, she's going to be in charge and she's going to use Mars to bring justice. So now that I know that I am worthy and I can get what I want, I feel that this is right and I'm going to bring justice to do it, by doing it. So this is going to end this reevaluating process. Now let's sum it up. So Venus is going to enter Leo in June 5th until October 9th. The first station is going to happen on July 23rd at 28 degrees Leo, and the second station when Venus is going to turn direct again on September 4. So you want to check these degrees in the chart, 28 and 12 degrees Leo in your natal chart, because you can really understand in which area of life this transit is going to affect you by looking at the house in which these 2 degrees fall. So that's very important, especially if you have planets close to these degrees. And the process is going to involve a triple square with Jupiter. So you want to remember these dates, June 11, August 22nd, and September 17th, because the week around, the days around these dates are going to be very important to process this relationship that we have with abundance, with what we want, right? And definitely the third square is going to be one of the most interesting phases of this process, because it is when a long sextile with Mars is going to start from September 17 to October 9, which is basically the date when Venus is going to leave Leo for good after 4 months. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell not to miss out on future astrological insights. I am Roberto Corona. See you in the next video.